What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel as you tune in and check out the content. And in this video, man, I'm gonna be talking about LeBron James' retirement and how the way he's going about his retirement is going to affect his legacy, right? And I just want to also say that you don't have to be a expert in basketball or an expert in any sport to know if you're getting if the product that you or the play that you're seeing on the court or on the field is like exceptional, right? And I think like sometimes the media think that they can tell fans anything, not just like diehard basketball fans or football fans or baseball or sports fans in general, like myself. You can like some players like transcend the sport. Like for instance, like Kobe Bryant. Like if you don't know anything about basketball and you watch Kobe Bryant, he's a guy who transcends the sport because you see the passion and you see the way he played the game, and people admire that and people like that and people are drawn to that. You don't have to be a diehard football fan. You watch Tom Brady, right? And you see like the way Tom Brady played the game, the passion, and like people are drawn to that. Same, you would be drawn to like somebody like Ray Lewis, like those players, exceptional players. They stand out and they have what people call that it factor, and those they are transcendent. They transcend the game beyond just normal like diehard fans, right? And so when the media try to put people into uh categories that they don't belong in, then that's where the pushback comes along, because now people think that you're playing with their intelligence, right? And basically, it all boils down to like how like different people are going to articulate what they're seeing differently. Some people are really good at articulating like what they think about LeBron James and his legacy, and some people, are not. So I'm listening to the podcast with Mace and what's the other guy named Cameron, and they spoke about LeBron James. Mainly Mace was speaking about LeBron James, and I thought I understood everything that Mace was saying as far as like the legacy of LeBron James. And so I want to play that what Mace had to say, and then I want to add on to it because, like I said, some people, different people articulate different ways of what they think about LeBron James and his legacy. And like I said, I appreciate the way Mace did it. I want to play what Mace said, and then I want to add on to what he said as far as LeBron James and his retirement.
Yeah, this is a perfect segue, pausing to what it is I probably wanted to talk about at a much later date. The thing that you're talking about is what I pay attention to, is what Cam mentions, and sometimes it gets lost in the conversation, right? Because LeBron does has the stats. That's why I used Obama. He has better stats. He has better stats when it comes to certain things versus Martin Luther King. But on impact alone, he's not. Why? Because it took less and less time this was done, right? I measure greatness on the timing it took you or the resources it takes you to do something, right? That's what makes something greater for me. If it takes you 40 years and you get more done, great. But if this person was able to do and be in a conversation with you with only 10 years or only 5 years, I'm just giving you the concept of where I'm getting this from. That tells me this is greater. Why? It took less to do it. Or let me give you another thing that
Well, let me say this: when LeBron James first started this GOAT conversation, I said this back then. I talked to my daughter and I was telling her, like, if it takes you 4 years to go, if I went to college for 4 years and I got a degree, like a bachelor's degree at college in 4 years, and then you come along and you get the same degree, but it takes you 8 years. That is not, like it don't make it better. Like, now I can see if you get the same degree I got and you get it in 2 years, that makes your accomplishment better because you attained it more. You got it faster. or when you see kids that are like prodigies, right? You'll have a kid that should be like in junior high school, maybe going to and taking college classes. That puts them on a different level because they are advanced, right? That's what it's all about, being more advanced. So that's close to the analogy that I made when I was talking to my daughter about LeBron James and Michael Jackson, like LeBron James playing, Michael Jordan playing 23 years in the league and having 4 championships. Whereas though Mike played 15 years and had 6. Like like it was that puts him at a higher level.
I'm speaking of, let's say, and you speaking of us like as rappers, right? Let's say Cam has a great legacy. I have a great legacy. And this other guy has a greater legacy than us. But if we figure out that he was, doing some inappropriate things and that helped him to get what he got, then you're not as great, even though people think you're great. Because come to find out, like we're watching people's legacy now. If it comes out that you did all of these things, we have to conclude that into the legacy conversation. And at that point, I don't think you're great if you had to have a boyfriend to get to that level in rap. I don't think you're great.
All right, so that right there, I think like a good analogy for something like that, or a way to explain that is when you look at the baseball, like the home run record, right? Um, like I think the home run record was like 70 something home runs. I don't recall right now, but it was 70 something home runs. Then you had guys all of a sudden taking steroids, and you had guys who was batting like 200, all of a sudden they hitting 50 home runs a year, right? Because of their they're taking steroids and stuff. So you gotta that's something that you have to factor into the accomplishment, because now you kind of you're giving yourself advantage when you take like performance enhancement drugs and stuff like that. So all of that stuff has to be taken into consideration. Like it's a difference between hitting 70 home runs just natural, than somebody hitting 70 home runs with on performance enhancement. It's just a difference, and it's something that has to be acknowledged, and you have to put an asterisk by it.
If you were sitting on men laps and in jacuzzis with men to get to that level, I can't deem that as great, especially when other people just did their own writing or did their own rapping. That's a total different level of greatness to me. And I know we're living in a world that it seems like things come out later and it makes sense, but to me, that's where I'm speaking from. I'm speaking from the aspect of the people who put in the work, that didn't play the political games, that didn't do things behind the scene to make things what they are on the scene. That's where I'm speaking from. And I know that's a coded statement, but it's a lot of truth behind that. It's coming out now that, that these guys got home runs, but they was on this, or this person was doing this. That's why he's there. That's not the same greatness. So when you hear me speaking, that's where I'm speaking from. I'm not speaking from just like hating on somebody or trying to belittle somebody's legacy. If we think we're measuring it on basketball alone, but it's not on basketball alone, then I can't weigh that the same.
That's a great point, right? Because, and like I said, even people who are not, you have a person that is not a sports, they don't really follow sports like that. They like novice. People still recognize greatness, and I think that's what the NBA and professional sports leagues forget, that people are intelligent, and they're not going. You just can't really say, well, oh, this guy is the GOAT, just because you want to make that person a GOAT. Like people can. I talk to people, women who don't even follow basketball, and they know that Michael Jordan is that dude. They know Kobe Bryant and Magic and Bird. They don't. People, I'm talking about people who don't even follow sport, and they'll tell you it's Michael Jordan. They'll tell you it's Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Over. And I think that mainstream media do themselves a disservice when they think that people are just so really they not intelligent enough to see the difference between a LeBron James and a Larry Bird. And you don't have to be a basketball expert if you can't see the difference between LeBron James and Magic Johnson, LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. And I think they just do themselves a disservice. You almost make your sport look like the WWE, like it's not even real. And, you take away some of the prestige from and the credibility you take away because you turn it into like the WWE. People just not buying it.
It's not this. It's just not the same. Not for me, and that's never going to change for me.
I don't know where he went with it, but to answer your question, Mo,
that's why the intelligence thing, because it was clear what I said.
Intelligence because you went all over the place.
No, that wasn't all over the place. That was all strategically line upon line.
Nah, he asked you like what made. Because it seems like you keep trying to say LeBron is on steroids. That's what it seems like.
No, I'm saying there's other things that goes into.
But it seems like you're trying to belittle my intelligence at the same time when you keep saying it's an intelligence thing. It just seems like
if you can't get that is an intelligence.
Nah, maybe our intelligence is just too.
All right, so when you this is the thing too, like when you question people's intelligence, I wanted to address this too because Cameron kind of took offense. Well, he definitely took offense when Mace like questions his intelligence, right? But anytime you speaking and somebody don't get your point, sometimes that happens. No matter how articulate you are, sometimes people don't get your point. And so what we need to do is to, if people don't understand, we need to be able to articulate what we think in different ways, And so. All right. So if somebody say, "Well, you know what? I don't follow you," you kind of went off base, like what Mace said. I mean, what Cameron said to Mace, and then so Mace, instead of saying intelligence, right? Because now he's offended. That cuts off when you question people's intelligence. You cut off the line of communications because now I don't hear nothing else you saying. I think you just called me stupid, right? So. When you explaining stuff to people and you breaking things down, sometimes you just got to break it down in different ways, and which I think is good because it makes you the person who's explaining it, the person who's breaking it down. It makes you be able to articulate it in so many different ways that it is. If somebody wants to oppose your argument, they'll have a harder time opposing your argument because you have so many different ways of breaking it down and explaining it. And that that's what I like about that. But I think when you bring certain words and like, phrases like "you're not intelligent enough" if you don't get what I'm just saying, even though you feel like that, you just can't say that. You got to go ahead and just try to. All right, well, let me explain it to you this way, and then ask them questions about. And just put it in a way where you can ask them, do you really think that these are the same, that like this is equal to that? It's different ways of getting people to see things your way without questioning their intelligence.
Different levels, but you keep saying this like the third time you said today, it's an intelligence thing. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? that you're more intelligent than me? If you feel that way.
No, it's not you. It's anybody that can't get the conversation. That's what intelligence is. If you're saying 1 + 1 is 2. If somebody say he has 2 and he has 2, the next person should say together that's 4. That's
your logic. It's not an intelligence thing. It's more about
fact.
See, and that's how now they're into a whole different conversation. You're talking about intelligence and logic and stuff like that. When the whole discussion is about LeBron James, you know what I mean, and his legacy. And so, like I said, that's what I like about, like having debates. You have to find different ways to articulate and be able to get your point across. But at no point in time, you can't, because you're going to shut down communications when you question people's intelligence.
That's your logic. All that's right. Because to me, I'm just saying, like, it's just a debate. I'm not beefing now. I'm just saying, like, to me.
And see, fortunately, these two guys, Mace and Cam, they cool with each other. So they're not really going to Cameron is not really taking offense to it, But if you talking to somebody and y'all in a barbershop and y'all don't really have that type of relationship, people get offended when you call certain people dumb, or you say that you're not intelligent. That's a whole nother you're going in a whole different direction.
Mason, it was like you went into a whole spill about rapping and writing, and I understand that you went through a lot of shit, so I understand where you're coming from.
So I know a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying that you don't know a lot, but we was talking about why LeBron isn't connecting with as far as like somebody Michael Jordan or Allen Iverson was. So when you did all that, I still kind of didn't understand what was your point on why he's not connecting with people.
All right, and I like that. So Cameron said, like, and he used Allen Iverson as an example, right? Again, Allen Iverson is the kind of player that he played with that passion and that energy and that heart that you don't have to, like everybody can just identify with that, because you can just identify with that, whether you're a 9-to-5 worker or you somebody who follow basketball or whatever you do, because you understand that whatever you do, and you want to be successful at anything, you got to put that work and you got to be passionate about it, right? And very few people get to do something, play a sport, act, or go into some type of entertainment where as though they get to put everything into it. Most time, a lot of times people work in jobs that they don't like, but it pay the bills. They're able to take care of their kids and their wife and their family and stuff like that, right? So when you see somebody like Allen Iverson, who getting to do something, he putting everything he have into basketball, and he getting knocked down, he hustling up and down the court. Anybody can identify with that, whether you know anything about basketball or not. And so when you see, and you can identify with that, when you see somebody who flopping, you see a guy who is bringing people onto the team who not qualified to be on the team. That's a whole different type of energy, right? Than somebody who is just giving everything they got, man. And so, like I said, I really enjoyed that conversation that Mace and Cameron had, that back and forth, because it was layered. Like I said, because they were good, they really know each other well. They didn't really, it didn't really get too heated or too far off the track. But I think that, back to my main point with LeBron James, man, his legacy is affected because he just didn't put that work in. Basically, bottom line, like when you watch a lot of basketball in the past and you see what those guys had to go through just to get in that conversation of being the one of the best, not even a GOAT conversation, but being one of the best. It's just a lot to go into that, and people want to see that from, I don't care what sport you watch, whether it's golf, baseball, basketball, football, people want to see that. They want to see you go out there and give it everything you got. And when you don't, people can feel that. And people not really feeling LeBron James like that. And that's what it boils down to. And the mainstream media just don't get it. They try to push LeBron James on people with stats, and mid-season tournaments and stuff like that, or his son, he was able to get his son in the league. People didn't buy, and they're not buying into all that. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.